Thank you, Mr Speaker.
I call Scott Simpson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's a pleasure to take a call in the third reading of this Canterbury Property Boundaries and Related Matters Bill. The Select Committee, I think, did good work, and I'm pleased that both the Minister and Dr Megan Woods, on behalf of the Labor Party, has acknowledged that good work, because this was part of a suite of legislation that the Local Government Environment Select Committee has considered in relation to Christchurch and Canterbury earthquake-related matters over a long period of time now, since the earthquakes of 5 years ago. And, Sir, this is a relatively small but really important piece of legislation, because it brings certainty in an area of our land law that has been very uncertain for the folk of Canterbury and Christchurch. And I just want to quote from the President of the Institute of Surveyors, Mark Allen, who said in his submission that this bill, quote, promotes the option that causes the least disruption and the least concern for landowners. And, Sir, that's, I think, a very important aspect. It sort of sends the tenure and the flavour of what this bill is about. Because after the earthquakes 5 years ago, Sir, not only did the land move laterally and horizontally, but it also moved vertically. And when the Select Committee, Sir, had an opportunity to visit Canterbury and Christchurch as part of its consideration of this bill, we were given an opportunity to tour parts of the red zone and see for ourselves exactly what it meant in terms of property movement. Now, Sir, it's been a very long time since I studied land law, but my recollection of the basic principles of New Zealand land law is that, as a general rule, boundaries don't move with the land. This bill, Sir, seeks to turn that around and actually make a common sense, practical, prudent decision that, as a result of the earthquakes, the bill says that in this case boundaries have moved. So we're turning that basic principle of land law around to take particular relevance and interest to Canterbury and Christchurch. I think it's a very pragmatic piece of legislation. Sir, what this bill does, it provides certainty for landowners and people who have had so much disruption, so much other disruption and concern in their lives in the years, days, weeks and months since the earthquakes. This is a very simple piece of legislation that provides certainty not only for the landowners but also for the surveyors who have to do the professional work. There's been quite a lot of confusion, Sir, amongst surveyors some of whom have been reluctant to actually carry out the work because of concerns about professional rules around the general principle that boundaries don't move. But it's meant that up till now there's been quite a lot of cost involved for landowners who have had to go about and have new surveys done. So this common sense approach, this common sense small piece of legislation actually allows and helps people get on with their lives. It helps them finish up and resolve insurance claims, and it helps the rebuild and regeneration of Christchurch and Canterbury to continue at pace. And what it means is that those delays have been removed. So there's one particular area that I want to just focus on, and that is the matter that Dr Megan Woods also commented on, is that the Select Committee decided that in order to future-proof this legislation, and touch wood, we hope that it's not required or needed, but we suggested that this legislation be relevant and go through from the 14th of February 2016 through until 14 February 2022. And let's hope that we don't have to face or suffer any further dramatic land movements in Canterbury and Christchurch through till 2022, and that things have settled. But I think it was a prudent and practical thing for us to do as parliamentarians, actually to future-proof the legislation, extend it out to that period of time, and to give certainty should there be any further land movement in the years immediately ahead of us. Sir, this is a very good bill. It's a practical bill. It's in legislative terms, quite a small piece of legislation, but it has an impact on a lot of people, and it will bring certainty and clarity to them. It's a good bill, sir. I commend it to the House.
The Honourable Ruth Dyer.